sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, for me, it's like I was watching these videos, Valuetainment, Patrick Bet David. Um,
Mhm.
he's the founder of PHP. He does Valuetainment. He's an incredible businessman from Iran. Now he's an American with family and everything. And, you know, proud Christian guy, and, I mean, honestly, I think he's just like, for me, he's phenomenal. Like, I mean, the fact of what he's been able to do, not only as an immigrant, yeah, for me, just truly phenomenal what he's able to do. Like, he's a father, businessman, coming from a very different, coming from Iran too, Muslim country. And, he's hosting this debate between two Christian scholars or, authors and, two Muslim, reverts, who I think are younger than both the Christian guys, but nonetheless, I feel like the interaction is a very valuable thing because, I think about, like how today when we have the whole Gaza, Palestine, Israel situation, there are people jump on the bandwagon so quickly and will be trying to take sides or trying to, do this and that. And it's like,
Right.
And it's like, I feel like I remember when Sneeko and, other, internet personalities and streamers and whatnot, they basically, Andrew Tate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They kind of show like interactions between like the IDF soldiers or they just kind of interact. There's a lot of IDF soldiers that are, like on the field, like you see them in their gear, but once they have time off, they're just, again, they're just trying to like connect with their families or just have fun or whatever. And, Sneeko was having them on. Right. And
Really?
and yeah, I'll have to send you one of the videos. His channel,
Okay,
he's mostly going through Rumble these days,
Mm-hmm.
So, but I feel like those interactions are so priceless because you can see again that the way sometimes people make out people is just so disrespectful. Like, because, people will talk about, the IDF, like they're these warmongering, puppets of, like some kind of
conspiracy or something like that.
Say that again?
Of Satan or something like that. When really they're just regular people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're regular people who feel like they have to protect their families from Hamas or, someone who's attacked them, and they're not trying to, you know what I mean? And it's like, so I feel like those interactions, again, so same thing goes with like, Valuetainment and Patrick Bet David, having like these dialogues, these conversations. I mean, again, sometimes it gets heated subjects. Like where I left off, they were getting into how, the mainstream perception of Islam is that apostasy, deserves death within a Islamic state by Sharia law. And, it's like, and it's interesting because obviously that's an extreme perspective, by, I would say, basically everywhere around the world. You won't really find that anywhere. I mean, you might make a comparison to like a samurai, you might make that comparison, because you're dishonoring your, you could take the perspective that, like by being an apostate, by leaving your faith, you're dishonoring your people or the state or your Lord or whoever it is. You could take that perspective.
Yeah.
And there may be other examples out there, but I feel like, I mean, like we were talking about the Crusaders earlier, and I mean, I cannot draw any examples from my working memory at the moment of, like Crusaders or Knights Templar or different people who were put to death, for their change of position within the society. But I could be wrong. I mean, but so nonetheless, it's extreme by most cultures, by most standards around the world. Like, and so the fact that these two Muslim gentlemen are making those statements, I think, it speaks to several different things. But one of those things to me is that they're taking a much more orthodox kind of approach to the situation, because for me, let me take a breath here. Why don't you share some of your views on the subject if you'd like, so I can take a moment.
I think that what you said is very similar to what you were talking about earlier with the Mandela effect, of how there's a lot of miscommunication and misinterpretation depending on, the sides of these people, And you also talked about how, that can be kind of like the devil, for example. You also talked about the wolf in sheep's clothing. We can't really tell in today's society who is the wolf, for example, since they're always in sheep's clothing. Sneeko overall, from what I've seen, has a rather negative reputation in society. But like you pointed out, he's also shown how the IDF are people too. So there's two sides to this one coin of Sneeko, for example.
Interesting.
Yeah. And there's also two sides of one coin to IDF. And now that I think about it, there's also two sides of one coin for Hamas as well. I don't know, which side of the coin you think that they're on. But I guess, there's always multiple sides.
Yeah, man. So when you talk about like Sneeko being generally ill-received in the public today, that strikes me just a little bit, because I guess I have picked up to that sentiment, but I feel like maybe it's just because of the circles that I'm in and the general, because he gets compared to Andrew Tate a lot, and
yeah, he does.
He's like the little Tate or something like that.
The little Tate, I know, right?
And but and they're both Muslim guys and everything, both
right.
So I think that's a part of it. That's a part of it where, again, I feel like a lot of the media today still comes from the West, primarily, I think, the United States.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And, that tends to be, coming from a Christian culture. So,
right. Or Jewish, depending if you're Kanye West,
Judeo-Christian.
Yeah.
So I can understand that. That makes more sense.
Actually,
but
that's a fair point.
So, but for me, I feel like, anyway, I just, when, we started this discussion talking about world peace, right?
Right, we did, yeah.
Because I feel like again, you see, here's one thing that I find fascinating. Like, as someone who has looked to Buddha, for insight, for wisdom for a long time, as someone who is very well versed in Tathagata Gautama, Siddhartha, the Buddha, in his life story, I found out that at one point, there was one book particularly, for some reason the name has eluded me in the past couple of years, but I could find it again. But it's basically, he basically, I believe, I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that he was describing how even though Buddha was, and is known for being a teacher of, internal psychology and, and practices, enlightenment and, discipline, like finding inner strength and, not looking for external validation or external, results as,
internal peace.
But at the same time, an interesting thing that I remember him saying was how Buddha actually, Thailand today is the only country in the world that has used Buddha's prescription for government.
Wow, for government. That's deep.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know. That's the thing. But Buddha, again, what people do know is that Buddha was an international diplomat during his day. He was conversing with the kings, helping the different nations not resort to war, but finding other solutions to their conflicts. So to me, with that basic level of information understanding, I think it's quite reasonable to come to the conclusion that, yes, Buddha would have prescribed a form of government.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah. But, and so that kind of seems, again, like contradictory in a sense where it's like, well, if you have inner peace, why would you be working on external, why would you be working on, but I think that's the thing. You have to be able to work with the subtleties. You have to be able to, discover the details. You have to be able to be determined to have the details laid out, or worked out.
Right.
Because I feel like that's the thing. Again, we want to kind of sometimes we want to put people or we want to put religions or we want to put things in general in boxes. There's a natural inclination to be geared for a simple life. We want things to kind of go from A to B to C to so forth.
Right.
But that's the thing. It's like there's a number of different forces that sometimes may disrupt that. And we call that shaitan or Satan or so forth, or Mara, Buddhism. But again, I think that while I'm not dismissing that, I think that, there's a simple psychological dimension of, again, just kind of like, needing that edge or needing a little dimension of, preparedness or readiness, because there is change in life. That is just, there's nothing wrong with that change. But if we get too comfortable, then things start to slip. And then we might want to blame something or call it the enemy, like Satan or like whatever, when in reality, it's ourself that was becoming too, again, whatever, too accustomed to certain things. So
right.
I'm saying that natural inclination for simplicity, I think, is good. And I think that it's helpful, but I think that we just have to have reminders that outside of that natural inclination, we still do need to be vigilant and, do something. Again, I don't think it has to be too crazy a lot of times. I mean, maybe in some cases, I think in a lot of times, if it's just really, if it's kind of like, if it begins with a gesture, if it begins with like, again, a simple offering or a simple notion, I think that it goes a lot further than, again, someone may see, even for maybe sometimes years, but I think it goes a lot further than, what it appears.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that another thing is,